So I would say in our classroom, if you were to come in for a day and just watch, you would notice a couple of things. You would notice that there were many times sort of, let's say, sprinkled throughout the day where the call to care work sort of pops up. One of the biggest times that you'll sort of see it is if there is anything in our school that is stressful or traumatic. Like let's say last year, there was a shooting that happened around lunchtime outside of our building. And so our school was on lockdown, and that's sort of an event that needs a lot of support as far as dealing with the students' social emotional lives. But let's say if that happened, because in our school in East Harlem, it happens. It happens before school, it happens after school. And so you would notice that during those times of stress, that it's not me or my co-teacher that sort of start the process of either having a conversation with the class about what's happening or have a meditation time, that it's the students, that we sort of empower them at the beginning of the year and talk about that the call to care work is not just something that the teachers say, okay, it's call to care work time, but it's something that the students are able to know when there's times when they need it. And so a student will say, I think, right now I'm really worried about what's going on outside. I think we might need to have some peace time right now, or do you think it would be okay if instead of math right now that we, had some meditation time and it's sort of, I think it surprises people, and I'll say it surprised me the first time, that the students are able to recognize those times on a more smaller scale time. Let's say it's a full moon and it's in the hallway back from lunch. Chaos, it's mass chaos. And I remember one time at the end of the year, we were on the stairs and absolutely so loud, class is transitioning, it's after lunch, it's a full moon. And I remember one of my students that was the line leader for that day quietly just raised his hand a little bit. And I, of course, was like, no, there's no talking in the hallway, you have to wait till we get upstairs. And I could tell it was, he kept sort of like trying to raise his hand again. And I said, what's going on? Is everything okay? And he said, Miss Holdridge, I think we need to take 3 deep breaths right now. And I stopped and I laughed to myself a little bit. And I thought, no, let's just get it. Let's just go upstairs and then we'll do it. And I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to respect that child's request. And he was right. And so I said, well, will you lead it? And he was like, yes. So I switched places with him. I joined the line. He stood in the front on the stairs, and we took 3 deep breaths, and sort of the ability for the students to know when they need it. Also during transition times in our classroom, as I teach first grade, the students are with me all day for all subjects, reading, writing, math, and my co-teacher. And anytime we're transitioning from, let's say, from a literacy block to mathematics, we have some sort of time for the students to sort of check in with themselves, whether it be to take a breathing break, do a little yoga, do a movement break. And that's also something that we have students lead. So we'll say, it's time for a break. It's time to compose ourselves before we go into the next thing. We'll call on a student, they'll come up, and by about the middle of the year, they get to choose sort of what they think the students need. And we'll say to them, what do you think we need right now? And if it was a particularly, if it was a longer literacy lesson where we've been on the carpet for a while, shared reading, things like that, then they might say, can I lead a movement break? And so they'll stand in front of the class, and I'm in the back, and my co-teacher's in the back, and if someone came in, they might think, are there teachers in here? What's going on? And the student, would lead a movement of some sort, opening of the heart or something like that. And then they finish, they all get a sip of water, and they come back. And that would not have happened when I first started teaching at all.